From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, it's Just the Tip-Sters with Melissa Morgan.
Hey now.
Today with special guests Lorraine Schweikhard and Ginger Warren, the hosts of Big Feelings, the podcast for weirdos with kids. Remember, if you've got a tip for Melissa, tell us about it by calling the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837, or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com. You just might hear your tip on the podcast. And now here's your host, searching the podcast room for the perfect shelf space for her new Scarface stall, Melissa Morgan.
Say hello to my little cowbell. That was about the worst Cuban accent.
I thought it was adorable.
This side of Al Pacino.
No, it was actually, it took me by surprise. It was all I could do to stop, not spit out my Diet Coke.
Well, don't do that. There's a lot of electric stuff in there you can short
out. A lot of electronics.
Yeah, please don't spit.
Oh my goodness.
I did get the mother effing coolest Scarface action figure in his original plastic from an old friend, Nick Arnett, and he has a gun with a really long extender, probably silencer or something, and then a briefcase. And Tipster Carrie suggested I use baking soda to make a fake pile of Coke for him.
That's brilliant.
She's really brilliant, so that was a great idea. I guess it'll probably hold together. But oddly, I mean, he's got the white suit on and the black shirt and the black pocket square, but they have like a weird crotchal area, like he's either wearing a diaper or he has Derek Smalls from Spinal Tap's Cucumber.
Oh, I see.
It's odd for an action figure to have a large jock. That's all I'm saying. It's kind of weird. So yeah, the podcast room is coming together. We've got, someone said how eclectic I am because Scarface is on a stand and he is surrounded by unicorn magnets from Tipster Tanya. So.
Okay. The podcast room, probably by the end of this year, is going to look quite stunning.
Or people will just call the police immediately. So,
right.
So we are absolutely going to be heading, back toward the murder and the mayhem. But sometimes things are more important, and we wanted to do an interview with Ginger and Lo from Big Feelings. These girls are just, they're gems. I'm going to call them national treasures. They're so smart and so funny and so unique and so wonderful. The podcast Big Feelings is they kind of, split it in half. It's sort of bookended. They'll talk at the beginning about life stuff. They call themselves prematurely crotchety. They have children. They are, they're going to be mad that I said they're scout troop leaders for the organization.
You can't say that S word.
I didn't. Oh,
no, they won't care.
They're troop leaders for an organization where you have a troop of girls that scout things. They're always scouting the girls. Anyway, does the word cookie mean anything to you? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. I say nothing else. I have nothing else. I'm zipping my lips. They are so amazing. They made me fall in love with children, and I don't like children at all. I love to look at them through a window, much like nature. If I can see them outside, oh my God, they're beautiful. Please don't touch me. Don't come near me. I don't want that. They are so fascinating and wonderful. I love them. So the first part of the episode of every episode is the more, life skills, parenting, bringing up baby, ex-school teacher thing. And then they kind of make a fascinating transition to what they call put the gremlin in the blender and talk about true crime. So they are a true crime podcast, but I'm going to call it a name only. I just think it's because it's and not even in their name. I just think it's because Lorraine is so fascinated by true crime and is almost like encyclopedic. She has a whole lot of good shit in her brain.
They're both pretty amazing.
They're brilliant, but I love how Ginger, just sort of tolerates Lo's love of true crime, because Ginger apparently, it takes a long time to recover after hearing stories, gets, I hate this word, gets triggered, all that kind of stuff. So they're a fascinating duo, and I love their podcast, and I want them to do many more. They're very busy, so I think they just do 2 a month, like every couple of weeks. But the interview with them was delightful and wonderful, and I promise we'll get back to the murder. But before we get to the interview with the hosts of Big Feelings, we have a promo we wanted to play for a podcast that has caught my ear. I love the unexplained, the supernatural, and this podcast, hosted by Jason and Rebecca, is wonderful. It's called Ghost Town.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you.
Nice shirt. Also, do you like podcasts?
Sure you do, which is why you should listen to Ghost Town, our comedy podcast about the abandoned, mysterious, haunted, and unexplored.
From the Berlin Wall to the Los Feliz murder house to the room that Janis Joplin died in, we'll be there.
If it's cool with our lawyers.
We have lawyers?
Go with it.
Wherever it is, we're going to hash it out and, I don't know, probably solve it.
And we have mugs.
We have mugs?
Go with it.
Ghost Town, a podcast about mysterious, abandoned, and unexplored places.
Subscribe to Ghost Town on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app.
They are so smart and so funny, and it's very different. The cases they cover, not all of them I have heard of, and some of them are well known, and yet their take is always really interesting and funny and smart. So now I hope you will enjoy this interview with Ginger and Lo. When you host a podcast, a lot of times you don't have time to listen to a lot of other podcasts, and what you typically do are listen to podcasts in your genre, unless you have another subject matter that you really enjoy listening to and you can broaden your horizons. So I met Lorraine sort of virtually on a Facebook page, looking for, kind of swapping promos. And I thought, wow, these girls sound very interesting. And then it became my new, and I've never done this before, but my new cocaine. And I became obsessed with you girls. Obsessed. And now I have producer Mark obsessed also. Just to let you know, and I'm really, really jealous and pissed. We were driving around last week and I said, hey, do you want to listen to this? And he goes, no, I want to listen to Big Feelings.
Oh.
And I'm like, God damn it. Now he likes them better than he likes me.
That is not true.
It is so... Oh,
that is not true.
Mark.
I love you and I love our podcast, but they're fun to listen to.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so, and is still part of the intro. I could not for the life of me imagine liking one iota of anything you said. I was like, they are married with kids and I am an admitted PWOK, except that's a parent without kids for those of you who don't know. I love all of your lingo. I am obsessed with all of it and I work it into my own conversation, even if it doesn't fit. I now talk about bidets and I don't care about them, but I know Lorraine does. So I talk about them.
Thanks a lot for that, guys.
But I became obsessed and listened and thought, why would I care about child rearing? And it was the most enlightening, amazing, week 2, 3 of listening, catching up, getting into the podcast, waiting for new ones, very excited. Hope whatever the hell kind of recording issues, were tripping you up are now gone, because it is a beautiful piece of art. Your podcast is a beautiful piece of art that needs to be heard by everyone. And if someone like me, if someone like me who doesn't give a shit about people's kids, really don't, am madly in love with you two and your podcast and learn something and care, that says something. And it took, I started my true crime podcast in January of 2018. And, we have a year of this under our belts and I wasn't sure where it was going, but I didn't know that I would find something like you guys and have you open my eyes to other kinds of podcasts that are fascinating. And it took 11 months of 1 year before I got it. Mark kept telling me it wouldn't matter what the topic is. If it's a topic you're passionate about, that's great. But what is important to people listening is your interest in the subject and you as the host. And I'm like, nobody gives a shit about the host. Nobody cares about the host. They want to talk about the subject matter. And I don't care about child rearing. And I don't care about the stories that you talk about true crime wise. I know you don't either. That's probably why I love you. You don't even care. You don't even know where your kids are right now. But I literally cannot wait to hear your next podcast. And it's because of you. It's because of you two. It's a beautiful thing. And you don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know how special you guys are, how fun you are to listen to, how real, how honest and gut-wrenching, and even when it's difficult shit that you're rolling out, you can still make us laugh, but not feel guilty for laughing like in church. It's real, like, tape your ribs kind of laughing, because it's amazing. So I want to start at the beginning. Where did you two weirdos meet? Please say fistfuckers.com. Please say fistfuckers.com.
Fistfuckers. I've got to push my lady boner down for a little bit here. Hold on. I mean, that was incredible. That was the best sex I ever had.
Awesome.
Listening to you just rant on how amazing we are.
You are.
Oh my gosh.
You are.
Okay.
So own it, accept it, own it. So where did you two weirdos meet? Burning Man? Say Burning Man. No?
Nothing that sexy. We met through a mutual friend.
Okay.
And, kind of the impetus for the podcast was, so Ginger and I live on opposite ends of a 20-mile-long lake.
Oh.
So we, I loved her, from the moment I met her. And I just wanted to get to see her more. And so I was laying in bed thinking, okay, what are some things I want in my life going forward? And it's like, well, I'd like to see more of Ginger, and I'd like to try my hand at doing a podcast. And so let's do it. Yeah. So that's why we're only twice a month, because we have limited time that we can record. And so, Sweet Baby Jay's in preschool for 4 hours a week. So I get in my car and we just cram it in. And then I usually sit and edit in my podcasting editing office, which is the passenger seat of my car, while my daughter is doing judo or art or whatever the fuck. So, she's being enriched by other people.
Right, totally enriched.
That I pay money for. And, and it's been great. I get to spend more time with my Ginger.
It's a beautiful thing, I have to say. And, the more I got to know you and listen, I was like, so it's fascinating that you split the podcast in half, and it's two such diverse topics. So it's, sort of life and two premature crotchety people. And then it's a true crime story, and it doesn't necessarily involve a murder. It can be one of, Lorraine's beloved cults or something, along that line. And it's always a fascinating, interesting story. It's not all big, giant, it's not every week. It's, the Manson murders. It's things that are smaller that you may not know about. Like I had completely forgotten about Jay-Z Night and had watched bullshit, videos of him, in front of thousands of rich people in Malibu channeling an ancient Asian entity. And
don't you love her? I just
love is a strong word. Love is a strong word. Well, I'll tell you what I do love: your impression of her impression. That your impression of Jay-Z Night channeling Ramtha. I almost drove off of a major freeway in Los Angeles. I just want you to know that, because it's so good and so bad at the same time. It's so awful and wonderful at the same time. And in my head, I could, as times change, it's been a while since Jay-Z was sort of in the news, although you've mentioned the whole, was at one point, a supporter of one political party, is now a supporter of another, which is frightening to think of, because that's just a horrifying thing. But I kept thinking Jay-Z, and I kept thinking I got 99 entities and Ramtha is one, or so. I kept thinking of a song in my head. It was terrible. So that's what you two do to me. You totally rearrange my synapses and they misfire completely, and I still love you for it. So one of the things that I love about you two is the things you have in common and the things that you are very vastly different on. My best friend lives in another state, and she will cry if I discuss true crime. And I am sitting in my podcast room that has a shower curtain nailed to the wall that has bloody handprints on it. So we're very different women. We have a lot of things alike, but we're very, very different. And so I can't talk to her about true crime things. And at one point when Lo and I were communicating via Facebook Messenger, she was like, oh, no, can't talk about that because, Ginger and kids. And I'm like, really?
Can't handle dead babies. I don't know what her deal is.
Oh, what? Oh my God! You're kidding me. Oh my God. There was one podcast. I don't know if it was the first or second one where we were happily chatting and just having a lovely catch-up time, and then all of a sudden we grind the gremlin, and I'm thinking, yes, okay, I can totally get into this. And then it just got darker and darker, and literally, she was just doing her thing. Lorraine's just like, and the chains to the bedposts, and
that was the Terpins.
Oh, the Terpins, and no one even died, Ginger.
Oh my God!
Fucking grow up
saying.
hair.
My whole world, she's narrowing down, and I can just my world is spinning, and I feel nauseous and sick. And I'm like, God, can I just get up and take a dump while she's telling this story, and then just come back, and maybe she'll just keep talking? But no, I just got through it, and then I was like, okay, I did it. Look at me, I did it.
You can actually hear that you're trying to take the time to transition. Where Lorraine is like, okay. Done with talking about summer vacation, on to who gets, eviscerated from the groin up. And Ginger's like, wait a minute, just give me a minute. It's fascinating. It's fascinating listening to you two. And obviously it's the love between you two that keeps you both hanging on, because if you were partners that maybe just had the podcast in common, one of you would be like, fuck you, I'm out of here. But you
have
both
to. I feel like that's what it's like, Melissa. That's what it's like living in the suburbs out here. It's like you have just got to take the little granules, the little nuggets, and just run with it. That's what Lori and I have found. Like, we love to talk about really weird shit, and if we don't have anything else in our lives to talk about, we have that little weird piece of shit to talk about.
Yeah, whatever weird.
I feel like that should be the title, like the title of your book. The weird pieces of shit give us life.
Yes.
The Ginger and Lo story.
That's
it.
it.
Yeah.
Take the little pieces of shit and run with it.
And no, don't run exactly. Maybe polish them a little or something. Don't run with them.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Unless they're in like a Ziploc or something. But
that's what we're doing. We're polishing turds.
Stop it. Stop that right now. Your podcast is no turd, lady. It's a priceless gem. It's a national treasure. There's no turds involved unless you're discussing the poop that you talk about all the time. Yeah.
Poop and murder. That's what we should have called.
No, why didn't you call it that?
Murder.
Poop and murder.
Poop and murder.
That's the perfect thing, except that it's much more broad than that. That's what I love about it, is that it's true crime in its real essence. It's not just where I like the stuff where, someone is absolutely not making it out. Your topics are more broad, and I love that. I love that about it, because I really feel like I learn a lot from you guys, not just about true crime, but about life. So one of the things that fascinated the shit out of me as a PWOK is hearing Ginger talk about, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but Shark Boy and some of the students. So for those who are not all up into the big feelings tip, Ginger has been a elementary school teacher and a preschool teacher and a special ed teacher. I mean, you're kind of all over, amazingly all over the educational board. And I am really fascinated by nature versus nurture. Yeah. I still am out. My jury in my brain is still out whether you probably have very definitive opinions about this, being mothers of 2 and 3 each. I'm still out on whether you come into the world evil or whether I think it's pretty proven that certain events could turn you into a psychopath. But not everyone who has those traumatic events turns into a psychopath. So that's the part that's fascinating to me. I guess I kind of want to know what you girls think as parents and as podcast hosts. What do you think about how kids come into the world? Do you think that they come in without a chance, or do you think you can maybe love them out of their psychopathy?
You can mitigate. I mean, that's epigenetics, right? Where you've got genes, but then your environment is going to affect how those genes are expressed.
Right.
And I don't know if you listen to Happy Face.
No.
That great podcast about the Happy Face killer, where
oh, you mean with Melissa Moore? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and, that was really interesting to hear that doctor talk about psychopathy and how it can be a positive if, you're in the right environment. And
well, that's how I think most captains of industry are where they are.
Exactly. They're all
for better or
sociopaths.
worse. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It can be, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, too, I am this much older sibling of 3 foster to adopt siblings. So I have 3 siblings that, I do not share genes with, but I did share, obviously, parents and an environment with. And your mileage may vary, as they say.
Right.
I think that there are some people, and, I've had a lifelong fascination with true crime, just like you.
Right.
But I think that there are some people who, don't function in the society we currently live in. I wonder sometimes if we were living in, if we were back in cave times or something, if the way of existing might be beneficial, in some way to the tribe or your community, to want to, I don't know, eat people, Although, can we, cannibalism, that's another thing that I'm just like,
Yeah, it's amazing that I'm fat at all because I like 5 things and none of them are human. Even if you deep fried people, they
say once you try.
Yeah.
That's the thing is it's like, don't kill people to eat them, but,
if they happen to die in front of you,
they're dead.
If they felled like a buffalo, you might, I don't
Totally.
know. Yeah, I don't.
I'm not like saying Oscar Mayer needs to get into this, but
right.
it's, I don't know. I see how people struggle with it, but if you're starving and
that's
I
different.
told my husband, I'm like, eat me. If the zombie apocalypse comes, I am marbled. I am juicy. I would be the best.
I hadn't thought about that. You're right. You wouldn't be like all grossly sinewy and have to pull a bunch of gristle out. That's very wise. I feel like there's a difference, and before the podcast goes into a really bizarre area, I feel like there's a difference between eating people as in the Donner Party for survival and eating people because you've had childhood trauma and you have abandonment issues and you don't want anyone to leave you. Those are feel like two different forms of cannibalism. So I know you've probably shared all of the fun monster children stories on your own podcast, Ginger. But did you actually worry that Shark Boy would potentially grow up to be a cannibal or eat people? Or you really did? Okay.
He was already fighting people, Melissa.
The fascinating thing about it is that when you're a teacher, you're colleagues with a varied populace of people. So you have the really conservative teachers, you have teachers who are, more liberally minded, you have young teachers, old teachers, whatever. But it was a very agreed upon consensus that this child would most certainly grow up to be, like, if left to his own devices, grow up to be a serial murderer, killer of some kind.
Wow.
And this was like in the lunchroom when everybody's eating their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, just having the conversation of like, yep, that's just how it's going to be.
Wow.
That if this kid doesn't get help, that just, I don't know. There's just something about what you recognize as a human, like there's something in the person's eyes and their mannerisms, just like serious. We called him Serious Shark Boy because he just moved like a predator. You know, he moved like, and I don't
In
know.
like what, second grade?
Oh, this kid, no, he was my kindergarten student.
Kindergarten, and he already moved like a predator.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. And
It was eerie, just eerie.
they do say there's something in the eyes, like a dead, and not to put it too fine a point on it, because sharks have kind of dead eyes, but they say there's something in the eyes of the human, and I don't know that it's always predictable. I really don't, but I think Lo and I had a conversation on Facebook about Dr. James Fallon. Are you familiar with him, Ginger?
No.
Oh, it's just one of my favorite stories in the world. So he teaches. He's a neuroscientist, and he teaches at the medical school of UC Irvine, University of California, Irvine. And he spent his entire life studying neurology and psychopathy. And in his 50s, he was asked to they came out with something they called this psychopath gene, and it's really not really a gene. It's might be like sort of a disorder in your limbic system, where you are constantly wanting to activate that for your pleasure center kind of thing. So he was asked to participate in this double-blind study where they say in a group of 10 people in one family, there's going to be one psychopath. And he's like, okay, well, I'll have my family participate. So he had, his kids and grandkids and siblings, and they're like, okay, yeah, there's one psychopath in the 10 people that are participating. He's like, oh, who is it? And they're like, oh, no, it's a double-blind study, we can't tell you. And he's like, who is it? And they're like, okay, well, it's you. And he was furious and went home to his mom. And he's like, can you believe that? I have spent my entire life studying the brain and psychopaths. And this is what I'm And his mom goes, why do you think we put you in every after school program possible? Why do you think we told you every day how much you were loved? You were a good person. And he's like, what? And he looks back on his life and he's like, oh my God, you know what? I'm an asshole. I get it. I'm an asshole. He's very clear about the fact, I think it's called like The Psychopath Next Door at Dr. James Fallon. And he was very clear about the fact that he is an asshole, that he, will play Candyland with his grandkids, but he cannot let them win. He's very ambitious, obviously. So when I say it's a double-edged sword, it is. You can be someone who can, if you have any level of compassion, you could change the world with your ambition, or you can, suck the teat dry of humanity and, wear suits made out of women's skin. So, or whatever.
I think what you just keyed in on there is if you have a modicum of compassion, which I think some of these the guys that are really scary to me, that are true shark men, are like Paul Keller or Peter Keller. I'm real wary of anyone with the last name Keller at this point.
Sure.
But
or Peterson.
But like Paul Keller, where he was just like, oh, just dock my insurance. What's the big deal? Like no sense of he basically tried to kill people, that they almost died and they've lost everything. He's just like, what's the problem?
And he thinks he can turn it in as a homeowner's policy issue.
Yeah, exactly. And when you see him talking, there's just nothing there.
Right.
There's, and even, Kevin Coe, where it's just no sense of how what they're doing affects other people at all, and no care.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's the fascinating part of being able to watch other people and judge them like we do, which is the fun part, is that, it's like they're psychopaths and we're much better than them. So it's pretty interesting to me that one of Lo's favorite topics is family annihilators, and Ginger can't stand the idea of a child being hurt. I love the fact that you two can weave that together like a fucking Indian blanket and make it work. It's amazing. I'm hearing a little more now that, like, when you're done, Ginger has to go vomit or something, but it still is amazing. So I have to say, Mark, producer Mark, do you have the surprise ready?
What? Give me a second.
Okay. So And this is, I'm sorry, but I have to do this to you. I have to do this to you.
I think my wife's a psychopath.
You're going to think so after this.
I've been thinking
She's
that
making me do this. She's making me do this. I had nothing to do with this.
He had nothing to do with
turns
this.
out you're the psychopath.
Shut up. So anyway, I was listening to your interview with Allegra, and again, as a PWOK, as person without kids, and nothing's ever come out of the body except poop or whatever. So I was fascinated, but most people would have just said the taint, and everyone kind of knows what that is. I thought it was funny that you had to explain to Ginger, it taint the front and it taint the back. But what you kept saying, I was like, what the fuck is Lorraine saying? And then it dawns on me, oh, that's what, because it's one of my favorite words on earth.
Oh,
and
which I've been corrected as perineum.
Oh, fuck. Okay, go ahead, play it, Mark.
Were you going to fix my...
Yeah.
Because perineum
ahead.
does sound like flowers. It's like, oh, let's plant some perineums over here.
Wait, one more time, Mark.
Perineum.
Yeah, we got the Google pronunciation for you because I'm listening to you.
Can I make that my ringtone?
That's what we did. That's what we're doing. Do it again, Mark. Do it again.
Perineum.
Yeah, we're going to do it like 107 times. So he actually said, you're going to have to tell me when to stop because I'll keep doing it. I'm like, no, don't stop.
So fun.
So
Perineum.
I'm driving on the 5 freeway and I'm like,
I'm going to stop now.
okay, sweetheart. I was like, perineum, is that the thing around a stage? No, that's a proscenium. A perineum, that's where you plant a flower and a year later it and I'm like, is she trying to say fucking perineum? God damn her. So anyway, I had to do it. I was like, that's the only mistake I've ever heard in your podcast. And I had to like bring it up and just beat it like whack-a-mole. Like, she said perineum. So anyway.
Well, and I keep waiting for it to come up again. I forgot to do like a corrections on the podcast, but I'm like, well, it'll come up again and then I'll say it correctly and then everyone will know. But you don't talk about your taint.
You do if you're me and I don't have kids.
Don't nearly enough.
Well, you don't talk about it enough. You're right. It doesn't come up, but it's one of my favorite words.
Man.
And it just made me laugh so hard. I'm like, what is a perineum? And then I had this image of you talking to your birthing class and saying to the birthing coach or whatever, so are we going to discuss the, perineum? And she's like, oh, do you want to tell him what it is? Because I thought she's like, what the fuck is she talking about?
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn this over to her. She's got the stage because I don't know what a perineum is.
Perineal massage.
There you go. Oh my God.
I still don't think they would have known what the fuck it was. It doesn't matter. I still can't believe that nurse lady didn't know. And I think
that's what I thought
I
was
looked
so
at her
funny.
face and I saw fear in her eyes when I looked at her. And I think she was. I really want to believe that as a nurse she was pretending she just didn't want to talk about taints.
Oh, I thought it was because she was so horrified because she didn't know what the body part was you were talking about because it's not real.
How can you not know?
Because it's a made-up word that you said that no one knows what it is. So that's what made me laugh so hard. I was like, is she wanting to plant shit in there?
I'll tell you what, the taint really comes into play in childbirth, though. It is out there. It's in people's faces. So if there's a time to get to know your taint, it's when you're about to blow it up.
Is this kind of quality shit I'm learning listening to you. Yeah. And I will be honest with you, I did not know how important the taint was, and I looked it up, the taint in childbirth, or the perineum, if you want to say it correctly. I looked it up and saw it was drawings, not real people, thank goodness. But
I'm sure you could find that's on Pornhub.
I don't want to see real people's no. I don't want to see real people's taints. No. I don't want to see people's taints. But, I also don't want to see their perineums or their perineums. I don't want to see anything like that to do with babies at all.
Lorraine, I forget, did you watch your children being born? Like when they come
She mentioned the mirror.
I had the mirror.
So did you actually see what, like the head coming out and everything?
Well, yeah, it was really encouraging. Then you have to finish it.
I don't know how that's encouraging.
But I'll tell you what, without a perineum, see, it's hard.
Yeah.
Without a perineum, all you have is my other favorite word, which is a cloaca.
Gesundheit. I don't know.
That's what separates us from the chickens. Yeah, so the cloaca is just the hole that a chicken has that everything comes out of, the eggs and the shit.
Right. Yeah.
So, we don't want to have cloacas.
No.
So, yeah, take care of that taint. Keep it intact.
If there's nothing else that anyone has learned from this discussion, take care of your taint.
That's right. Get some coconut oil on there.
Girl, wash your taint.
That's right.
I think you have a new bestseller. Girl, wash your taint. I like it.
Well, that'll be my patented, bidet that I'm going to come out with.
Mark and I were
You
discussing.
seriously are going to have, yes, the Lorraine bidet.
I'm so disturbed right now.
You're going to have your face
As you should be.
in the corner of the box of where the bidet is being sold, and it's Lorraine
big
with a thumbs up, like yes.
Like the people from Fixer Upper. It'll be in Target. There'll be Lorraine's bidet.
Yeah, we're the Chip and JoJo of sitting, I think.
You totally are. I think you are. Producer Mark, she mentions like the price. She's like, I love a bidet. I don't want to go anywhere where there's not a bidet anymore. If I'm out in public, I need to run home and use our bidet. And then she's like, it's $57. It's $57.
There's no reason not to do it unless you like having a dirty asshole. What?
There's
there are other ways to deal with that.
Right.
I'm just saying.
There's toilet paper and Cottonelle wipes. Why does it have to be water shot up into your...
Okay. Because Cottonelle wipes, you know what those are doing to the sewer systems. Did you hear about the Fatberg?
That's my goal.
You're not supposed to flush them.
That's my goal, is to just ruin society by flushing my Cottonelle ass wipes. It's better than having dirty shit water recycled.
They make biodegradable ones now that you can flush.
No, not according to them, honey. Not according to them.
Those
It's
are
clean
not
water.
even biodegradable. They say
Yeah, I don't know.
biodegradable, but technically
It's a lie.
do anything.
Are you
True.
are you also not using plastic straws?
Well, we do wash and reuse
I
them.
don't know.
You know,
Oh my
we're
God.
kind of.
Okay, this is a total non sequitur. Mark, you can cut this out, but I have to tell you. So 2 days ago, Jameis had a totally shitty diaper. It was awful, horrible, and I had just woken up, and I go and I grab the wipes from the cupboard. I have them down, and I start wiping, and I realized the smell that was coming from the wipes was different. And I look at the package, and it was Clorox
I was going to say, please tell me it was Lysol antibacterial.
Lysol.
Oh no! Oh, his poor little tape.
Oh, that's
Was it
one.
on fire?
That is one clean baby.
Horrible.
Oh my God!
Bad mother of the century.
Was there any
Like,
crying
wow.
or chafing or
I was like, don't worry. We'll put you in the bath. No big deal. I didn't
Oh
say
my
a word.
God.
I hid the Clorox wipe.
Can I just say I don't think that's that bad? Maybe because that's why I don't have kids, I think. I just have the 2 dogs because
You're like, why not just use Clorox?
I'd grab what I got. Windex wipes would be good. I'm
Sparkling clean.
Yeah.
Sparkling.
I just use newspaper and vinegar
Oh, I can.
like
I
you do
so
on your
sorry, I can
windows.
see my face in it. Oh, look at that.
I can see my face in my son's asshole. That's the title of your book. That's the title of your book. I can see my face in my son's asshole.
But I will say too. So one of my favorite local cults. That's one of the factoids that I remember about them. The Love Israel cult in Seattle, and they had a whole thing where they were totally against toilet paper. They were against a lot of things, but so every member of the cult had their own like squeezy bottle with a nozzle, and no toilet paper allowed. Just washy wash with your little
with your
squirt
own
bottle.
Portable bidet.
like you're a homeless person who's cleaning windshields at stoplights, except you use it on your butthole.
Exactly.
But then how do you dry? Do you air dry? This is the conversation Mark and I had in bed last night discussing bidets. It's like, so then what do you? And as Mark rolled over and started softly snoring, he's like, well, but then you just have a wet butthole.
What to see? Well, they're super fancy.
Start snoring.
You can get the Japanese one that blows you dry.
Oh, the Toto.
Yeah.
What is? Did something? Who did this to you? Like, what happened? Did something bad happen to your butt as a child?
Well, I think it's more about how horrible my diet is and the bad things that do happen to me in the bathroom. And now I feel like I can eat at Sonic with impunity because I can just wash away the shame.
Sonic and Popeyes and
Heck yeah.
the places that
All
do
of
the
it.
terrible, what do you call it, the Taco Bell cleanse?
Taco Bell cleanse.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great. It
Right.
roto boosts you right out. There's nothing left in you after you have a quesarito.
And then you sit over top of a ceramic bowl that shoots water in your asshole.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you avoid? And this is
I haven't left.
I know,
Sorry.
Mark. You just turn the headphones off. You don't want to
remind
hear
our
the rest of
listeners,
this.
This is America's favorite true crime podcast.
That's right. We're going to talk about.
You know what? This shit is a crime. Can I tell you? Having water shut up your asshole is a crime.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one more thing, Melissa.
Can't
if you're
wait.
talking about water shooting into your asshole,
Can't
I
wait.
have learned, to my delight, that sometimes you think you're done and you're not, and the bidet will figure it out for you. Because if
Oh
you
no,
get just
no,
the
no, no,
right
no, no!
angle-
Please, no.
Please stop. Can we put a little stop sign here? Maybe do a little route around that particular part of the discussion.
Wait, well, what do you mean, Lorraine? Like,
Oh,
the
good,
ultimate
Ginger.
freshness.
Thanks.
Sorry, I'm trying to visualize. Very visual learner. I have to understand what you're talking about.
Well, just come shit at my house, Ginger.
How do you turn down that invitation?
Supervise.
Come and shit in my house.
Right around the corner, where the shitters are hers and his. We got a bidet too.
Yep. Yep.
Here's what.
Okay.
Here's my question.
So-
It can be rhetorical.
Okay.
You do not have to
Okay.
answer. How do you keep it from going in the other part and causing severe infection by introducing shit into your fucking cooch?
Yes, go. What is it?
Okay.
Go.
It has a setting for that. There is a lady setting.
Oh.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Really?
So yeah. Because
You-
sometimes, especially in the summer, you just want to drain the swamp, as they say, and
That's
so
what you
you
say.
just go in there and you kind of spritz it up, you freshen it up, and then you can skippity-doo with a fresh area.
What do you mean, drain the swamp? We're talking, which hole are we talking
She's
about?
discussing her vagina, Ginger.
Yeah.
She's discussing her vagina.
Not so fresh feeling.
Oh,
So
got it.
you, I still am. So there are two.
Yeah, there's two settings.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a ball washing
never
setting?
go back. Well, there's.
I will absolutely go back.
That's probably going to happen. It does have a lot of force to it. It does have a water pick-like setting, but you can control the velocity. I feel like I should be getting paid
God.
by this company.
I am
You can start out
horrified.
gentle.
Oh my God.
Just a little gentle rain, a little pit-pat.
Just the tip.
You can just
Sters,
exactly.
as you.
You can just have a gentle, and then you can work your way up to just roto-rooting it right out.
Like fire hose,
Yeah.
or like if you're protesting and they turn the hose on you.
Totally.
We shall overcome.
Yeah,
There's a
except
hose
for
up
the
my
protester,
asshole.
It's poo-poo, and then you just
And then
Yeah.
is it flushed like a regular toilet?
yeah.
Okay, I don't even want to know anymore. You're talking to someone who has a tattoo above her butt that says exit only because her husband's better with written instructions and she gets tired of yelling no over her shoulder. So I am not looking forward to having anything up my butt. Water, it could be as flowy as water or as, solid as something else. Not ever.
Are you taking paper into the shower with you? It's just a little washy wash, just like in the shower.
Oh no, I'm supposed to wash in the fuck. I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
I mean, if you really want to do yourself a favor and you have a shower massager, get into it. But,
Oh, God. No. Why? Why? Okay. All right. So
anyway.
I have a question, and you apparently don't have to answer this either because Lorraine was so overwhelmed that I figured it out. How did you get involved in the organization? Are you not allowed to talk about it publicly?
Oh my God. Yeah,
Have they sworn you to secrecy?
Did you pick up on what that is?
I did. I said it in a message, and Lo was like, "Oh my God, we thought we did such a great job." I was like, "You're both obviously blah 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 blah," and she's like, "We thought we did such a great job of hiding." And I was like, "Hiding it? What? Like I'm not fucking Sherlock Holmes. It's not that hard to figure out."
Yeah, we don't make it too hard to figure out. I was telling Melissa too. I'm way too fat for Nexium. I was hoping she would think it was Nexium, but
I did like the branding all over your body though, but from the camera I've put in your house, I can see it when you go on your bidet. So you got involved with this because of the family connection with the family members that would want to be in this organization?
Well, yeah. And
Okay.
first of all, I do not have the Chuck Berry edition of the bidet. So
What's the Chuck Berry? Oh, God, do I want to know? God, I can't believe I
don't
asked.
worry.
Mark knows? What's the Chuck Berry
You
version?
might.
I don't.
Is it shaped
but I'm
like a
guessing,
guitar?
I'm guessing that he once did a song called My Ding-a-Ling, which might have something to do with it, but other than that, I don't.
He had cameras in the bathrooms at his house. Chuck Berry, you guys have never heard this?
Who doesn't? I don't know why that's weird. We have that. We
No,
have a
I
camera
never-
at the bottom of our bidet.
I never heard that.
In the bowl. Yeah.
In the bowl. We have cameras in the waterproof GoPro. We have a GoPro in the. Why is that a problem? I don't understand.
True. That's not true. Why
No,
would
it's
It's the
not
thing.
true.
Yeah. I think it was proven to be true.
no?
Look, that's why there's 31 flavors. Why are you so judgy? If Chuck Berry wants to see your goddamn perineum, why is it a problem for? Oh, thank you,
I
perineum.
always wondered, though, too, you would have lighting issues, I would think.
Lighting, everything just looks. Never mind. I can't now. No.
But back to the organization. So for me, it was about wanting to. I'm super secular. I'm not religious at all, but I wanted my daughter to have some sort of values instilled in her, and then I couldn't find a module to place her in, and so it was like, all right, I guess I'm starting a module. And
No, that's awesome. Oh, so you okay? That's why. All right.
yeah.
Okay.
So we are both module. What's the word?
Beginner.
I have a question about this. Is there a reason you do not mention the name of the
That's what I was
organization?
gonna say. Is it like-
have you been advised by
Yeah, listen.
counsel?
Listen.
scared.
They're scared. Yeah, you can hear it in their voice.
Scary.
They-
No, it's a
They
scary
are
they'll come
scared.
for us.
They are
They will
scared.
come for you.
It's like my friends who are in AA. You're not supposed to talk about AA. It's
There
very
was
similar.
There was one time.
Oh yeah.
that-
Ginger's gotten it.
I've gotten it before. So I've been a troop
She got in
leader.
trouble.
I've been a troop leader for like 6 years. This last spring, I took my troop out camping to the camporee, and it was all the girls, all of the organization members together, and the girls were supposed to do this skit. And they thought it up, and it was amazing and super duper funny. And okay, so if you don't know, like when you go to a campfire, everybody presents a skit, and the girls do their skit, and everybody's like, yay! And then the next group gets up and does their skit. Very cute, very campy, whatever. So my group gets up there, and I totally condoned this. I was like, yes, this is a great skit. You guys made it up entirely by yourselves. And this is like 10-year-olds, whatever. And the skit was called "Would You Rather Be a?" Oh my God, what was it? Right? It was. Would
It was
you
a
rather,
happy moron or a miserable genius.
Yeah. Would you rather be a happy moron or a miserable genius? So these girls were like, they would take turns, like, oh, I would rather be, a happy moron. Oh, and they'd act, kind of silly or whatever. Well, apparently that skit really upset somebody at the camporee. They called like the headquarters, and headquarters called me. They're like, Sarah, we heard that you performed the skits that may have been reflecting people with autism, and that you
Ramtha
were...
called you, it sounds like.
Ramtha was the head of the organization.
Yes. And I had to defend. I was like, no. There's absolutely no way that I would, allow that to happen. I was
You
like,
never let him go full retard. Never.
Oh
Never
my
let
God, we
him
can't
go.
even. Yeah,
No, it's a
they're
joke,
gonna
I
come
know.
for you now, Melissa,
I know.
because you said that word.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Come at me, bro.
That's
The
right.
light is green, bitches.
So because of that, Ginger was on the phone for I think over an hour, and we didn't get to record our podcast that day.
Yes. That's
Wow.
right.
So the organization is that cruel
for you.
and evil
They
that
will
they
find
okay.
you.
Well, I dare them to find me. I got legal eagle producer Mark
You know
that'll
what,
put a slap down on him.
We're about to find you because we're about to be out in front of the grocery stores selling our
Your
what do we
wares,
call them?
wink, wink.
Our snack biscuits. Yeah.
Your wares.
The
say it.
the organizational desserts.
Yes, organizational desserts. Thank you. Perfect.
So I have two organization adjacent stories. One is my mother. I'm an only child of an only child, so I'm a double PWOK. And my mother, I was deliriously happy to be an only child. I loved my mom with all my heart, and I did not want to share her, and I did not have to. And she hated being an only child. We were polar opposites. She was very quiet and studious and bookish and beautiful and classy, and I am me. And she sounded like was on the same path as Lorraine and wanted, and both of you, maybe as Ginger too, wanted to find some activities for me, possibly to keep me from being a psychopath. I don't know. So she started something. She grew up on a farm in Ohio, and she loved her 4-H group. So I don't even know what like home, health, homosexuals, and I don't know what the fourth one is. So I don't know. Horses. So she started this 4-H group. I could not have cared less about. All the little neighborhood girls loved her. She was like, it was like a home ec class. Like she wanted to teach us to cook and sew. And I'm like, no. So the only thing I did was I was able to plug in the fondue pot. That was my contribution. I'm like, one's cheese and one's chocolate. You bitches have fun. I'll be in here watching Welcome Back, Kotter. That was all I wanted to do, was plug in the fondue pot for the 4-H club. So that disbanded after a year or so because I was a really bad 4-H'er. So now Mark grew up with his father, not at the time that he was a youngster, but Mark is the oldest of 7. So as you can understand, we have 0 in common. So he's the oldest of 7.
Wow.
And his
Catholic or Mormon? I always got to ask.
Catholic.
All right.
And Mark's father was a Cub Scout leader. And he took
Boy Scout leader.
Boy Scout leader, and took the troop on a camping trip. And then, like, I don't know, one of them got slaughtered. What happened, Mark?
No, I refused to join the Boy Scouts because I was back then I was a hippie, anti-war, all that. Anyway, and I didn't like the army aspect of it, but the organizational aspect of it. But but all my brothers were Boy Scouts. My dad was a Boy Scout leader. They went on a trip up to in the eastern Sierra Nevada, to go on a camping trip, a weekend camping trip, and it started raining. Half of the troop my dad had let go cross over this creek, this thing called Bear Creek, and to camp for the night. And it rained overnight, and they got trapped. And so that was my dad's one big claim that they had to hike down.
He was in the newspaper?
Yeah, and TV. He was interviewed on TV, and it was very exciting. And that was the one time I wished I was a Boy Scout because I wanted to be on TV. But other than that.
So see, what you're doing is you're taking your lives into your own hands by being part of the organization, but I applaud you for your bravery.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, there's nothing braver than taking a bunch of 6-year-olds into the woods.
Oh my God, that sounds terrible on every level. I don't like the out of doors, and I don't like 6-year-olds, so I can't imagine anything more terrible. That's how you would get me. Take me on a organizational camp. Here's how I knew I could marry Mark Humphreys. I was saying, God, I can't stand camping. And he's like, oh my God, me either. One time my family and I went on a big camping trip for 2 weeks and I didn't shit the entire time.
No one shits at camp.
He could have used a bidet.
No. Yeah, it just shuts down.
Yeah. That's why he was like, I refuse to dig a hole and shit in it and cover it.
My family, they just shit all over the woods. Are you kidding? They loved it. They'd dig a hole and go. I mean, it was.
Wow. That's why we don't invite them to our home.
That's right. My old man would go out and crap in the backyard if there was. He would have no problem.
If the line was too long with the 7 kids, he's like, I'm shitting in the flower bush.
He'd go out with the dogs. Come on.
Perfection.
I would imagine in a 9-person household, someone is sitting outside.
At the very least.
Yeah. We didn't ask. Nobody asked.
Yeah, it's a good
one enchilada away from complete devastation.
And there were lots of enchiladas.
He's half Sicilian, half Welsh.
Okay.
Literally half Sicilian, half Welsh. And his mom, amazing cook. And just to let you know what he grew up with, like peppers at the table at every meal. And we go to like Mexican restaurants and Asian Chinese restaurants, and those little dried red peppers that other people can't get near.
Eat?
Yeah, he eats them like popcorn. Wow. He just like tosses them in his mouth like Cheetos.
Wow.
And then we're at a Mexican restaurant, and he'll be like, "Can you just bring me like your hottest salsa?" And they're like, "Of course, senor." And then they bring back, whatever, La Victoria, and he's like, "This is fucking bullshit. Do you have anything real?" And they come back with something, and the entire staff stands around the table as Gringo over here eats it, and his forehead breaks out in sweat, and it starts releasing like, pleasure endorphins. He's like, he starts making sex noises. He's like, so he grew up with somebody who constantly had fire shooting out their ass. So if any household could have used a bidet, it was Mark Humphrey's family.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing.
But we are really shooting the shit. But
Total shooting the shit.
what I've been really excited to talk to you about, Melissa, and I don't know if you heard about this, Ginger, the Walmart Santa with 2 teenagers buried in his yard.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this?
We can, but I don't have all of he was, a dad.
There's no
and
details. There's no details.
That's why. Okay.
It's killing me. Because it's like the cops just, they got called for a wellness check, and then the next thing you know, they're digging up bodies. There's what happened in between.
Son and daughter in the backyard.
I hadn't heard this.
It's a news story, and Mark is like the Ginger of our relationship. He does not really like I never tell him what we're covering. No, I'm not saying that you have sex with your husband's butthole or something. I'm just saying he, personality-wise, he's not really, he's not anti-true crime. It's just that I don't tell him what cases we're going to cover before, so that he can be like, what? I think the element of surprise is good. But yeah, it's an interesting story, sweetheart, producer Mark.
Where did this
Wow.
happen? This didn't happen near us. Probably happened in
Georgia.
the South.
Yeah.
I knew it. South.
So there's...
Everyone lives in the South.
Stop it. I'm from Kentucky. You shut your fucking pie hole right now, Pacific Northwest.
Oh, yeah, we have no weirdness up here.
No, not at all. No. There's...
Also, by the way, my true crime street cred claim to fame is that my mom went to high school with Gary Ridgway.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, I guess that area, but holy crap. Did he ever ask her out or?
Well, she had to sit next to him. Their last names are really close.
Oh my
so
God.
she wasn't just in school with him. She was in classes, always seated next to him because alphabetically ordered,
Whoa.
And then the really funny thing, and this is why I love my mom, so I was watching a super old, Justice Files or whatever the fuck, and they show his picture, but for some reason they show the entire page of the yearbook.
Oh.
And so there's my mom, and I go over to my mom's house later. I was like, Mom, I saw you on TV. And she's like, what? And I was like, oh, it's a Gary Ridgway thing. And, they showed your yearbook photo. And she was like, oh, I hated that haircut.
Well, that's the important part, I think, that we can all take away, that Lo's mom was not happy with her senior picture next to the guy who
cute,
killed
by the way.
over
Cute little
50.
bob.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet it was a bob curled under. Yeah, a guy who kills 50 prostitutes and then digs them up and has sex with them months later. So
Yeah, so not too surprisingly, she said he was very creepy, had a mustache in high school. You can
of course he did.
That same Ridgway.
Probably in the
he
6th
may
grade.
not have an upper lip. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what his problem is. But yeah, she said he was super Christian, boring, creepy. So, yep.
It's odd that Mark and I were talking about this last night at dinner because we have scintillating dinner conversation. But that's his wife, who seemed like a sweet person, but not maybe, Phi Beta Kappa. And I said to Mark, that's one of the things I worry about, is that one day I'll come home and he'll be like, I'm sorry, I have another life and I have to kill you now. And I know he won't, probably not. But that's like my biggest fear, is that you have built a life with someone.
Alpha Bravo Tango, she knows. Sorry, what? What? Sorry?
Shit. Okay. Well,
the jig is up.
It's been great knowing you girls. And
Did Gary Ridgway kill his wife?
No. She's still alive, and she wouldn't believe he did it for the longest time.
He was married, I think, 3 times.
All I remember is the last one when he was actually arrested. She just seemed like, he'd met her at a bar, and he treated her like gold. Yeah.
Well, it's that Madonna whore thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the ultimate, I have this that's at my house that makes me spaghetti, and then this other thing that's horrible and evil, and because he was one of those jerks that acted like he was doing everyone a favor to murder sex workers.
Yeah, it is a gift. I mean, overpopulation and that kind of
I
stuff.
just feel like, too, like, sex workers are fucking heroes. Like,
On every level.
Oh my
Even if
God,
they
man.
don't get killed. Yeah, even if they stay
taking one for
alive.
the team.
At
Like, yeah,
least
that is
one, sure. Yeah.
out there doing God's work.
The dirty, really dirty work.
I know. Can you? Ugh. Anyway, yeah, he's I don't know. And then we've got Dave Reichert here acting like he is so great because he caught the Green River Killer. But it's like, well, I wouldn't call that success because he killed I think his count is like 70.
Right.
I think it's just 49 that they've really
that they
got
can
the evidence
confirm.
on.
Yeah, that they can confirm.
But yeah, so
and Dave Reichert, there tends to be one standout in every investigation. I mean, I'm not saying that Paul Holes didn't have help because I know he did, but it's Paul Holes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
dreamy.
Dave Reichert. Yeah, he's so dreamy. Dave Reichert is kind of a good face of the investigation, and I only know the name because I love true crime in the story. Nobody who isn't apprised of this knows or gives a shit who that Dave Reichert was part of the Kings County Sheriff's Department or whatever. Nobody cares, but it's interesting how one person and we all know it takes a big ass village to bring down somebody like that. It's not one guy wearing a deer stalker hat with a monocle in his eye going around collecting all the evidence. It's a big group of people that manage to get any kind of arrest or conviction, even in a case that big, and especially in a case that big. So yeah,
it drives me crazy because I feel like Gary Ridgway was not that smart.
Right.
He was operating in such a small area,
public arena. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just feel like, I mean, I was pretty young at the time, but I was living in that area where bodies were coming up, within a mile or two of where I was living.
Wow.
And, you got to wonder if one or two of those early victims was not a sex worker. Would they have maybe kicked it into gear a little bit more? Yeah. And, these are, as you know,
that's a good
one
point.
of the things I love about your podcast is you're pretty, you can get salty with the language, but you've got a good heart and you really care about these victims and you care about these missing people and the pain that their families are in. And so, yeah, regardless of the state of someone's life, when they got into that car, they are somebody. So, I don't know.
There's
I'm not
somebody's
a Riker fan.
daughter I totally
Exactly.
understand. Yeah, there's somebody's daughter or mom or sister or, yeah, it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done, and that might at this moment be considered illegal, which prostitution should just be legalized and taxed. And certain, drugs, I feel like I can't believe we're this far into our society and we still kind of have to harken back to prohibition. It's like, nobody needs speakeasies, legalize it and tax it. And if somebody ends up dying from cirrhosis of the liver and somebody ends up dying from an overdose, that's the choice that they made, but don't, make it illegal and treat them as if they murdered someone or raped someone. That's the thing I don't get. And then if they end up dying at the hands of a monster who thinks that they're disposable members of society, you treat them as if they were the mayor who got killed. I mean, it's, we're all the same. If one of us is hurting, all of us are hurting. That really does bother me that, the white woman syndrome, and Gary Ridgway, a lot of his victims were African-American, sex workers. Yeah. So, you wonder, there's, Mark, is a singer-songwriter and has a independent record label, and one of the artists on the label has a song about these two women who went missing in Los Angeles the same day. And one is Linda Sobieski, because I can remember her name because she was a beautiful model, and a monster photographer took her out to the desert to take pictures of her on race cars for a car magazine, and raped her and killed her and shoved her behind a piece of furniture in his house. And another one was an average looking African-American woman, single mother, went missing, was killed. And I don't even know her name. And I'm embarrassed that I don't know her name. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like it doesn't matter who they are or what they look like. And I get it, sex sells, so to speak. But yeah, it's a frightening thing when only women of a certain age and a certain hair color are going to be the ones whose pictures are flashed. And that is another thing. Besides the nature versus nurture, I am fascinated why one case becomes more popular than another. Yeah. I am fascinated by how...
like John Bonet.
Yeah, well...
We're still talking about that, but yet how many other...
No. I saw in one of the supermarket aisles the other day that the killer's finally been found. So that's over. We're done with that now.
Oh, great.
Thanks, sweetheart. You just pipe down in there, sunshine. You're the reason we're in this horrible mess, white man. This is all your fault.
Like, how about Centoya Brown? Doesn't that just drive you insane? Like, do you know this one, Melissa? The girl that killed her abductor?
Yes.
And was sentenced to 51 years?
Yep.
What? It's just, what the fuck, man?
She is beautiful, too. She's a beautiful young girl, but, I mean, it's...
You need to get her out.
Yeah. I don't know how everything isn't considered self-defense in a case like that. You know, if it were the Old West and a guy broke into a dude's house and he shot him, he would, stand your ground law.
That sounds like an interesting case. We should cover that.
Absolutely. I think it's a heartbreaking one, and I think because of a few influences in my life, a few people who are talking about working on behind the scenes missing persons, missing and murdered, but missing for sure, missing persons. And the fact that your podcast is, true crime, but not in a traditional way, and you cover such broad cases, you're influencing me in that in 2019, I'm going to devote at least one episode a month to a missing persons case or a case that is untraditional. That I'm really black and white, and I really like things tied up in a nice little bow in a Tiffany box, but that's not, life is much more gray than black and white. And I love the fact that some of the things that you have talked about and covered are so untraditional and amazing. So that, honestly, with that's what I want to say, is that if you have not heard Big Feelings, you have to, because it will make your life a much better thing. I don't know if you girls want to say anything else, but I don't want to start crying because I just am madly in love with you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, your support means so much to us because I see you as being like on a whole other level. You guys are super professional, and your podcast is just amazing. I honestly too, I'm like, how is she doing all these missing persons cases? This would drive me insane. Because I can't handle that either. I need to have an ending, and I can't imagine the suffering of these families. Like the Cody, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his last name, but that was so good, Melissa.
Cody
You're
Turner.
so good.
Oh,
I appreciate you like us. It's just like,
I love you, and I like no one. Ask Mark Humphreys. I like no one, but I love you.
I have to say too. Well, you were talking about how you're picky, and I am a voracious podcast consumer. I've got a speaker in my shower, my commute, my dog walk, folding laundry. I mean, I've got a speaker built into my bidet that just starts it up. So I've got, Michael Barbaro just there with me. And the list of things that will get me to unsubscribe is getting longer and longer. And to listen, I really appreciate people that edit and put production work into stuff and also just do the research. And I have to say, that's one of the things that I found that I love. I love pretty much every aspect of podcasting except for the social media stuff. But I love the research. I love the editing. And for me, I get a lot of ideas for the cases that we cover just from talking to my clients.
Right.
And poking around and asking people. And I do have people who work for the county. So I get little tidbits. I don't even know how much I can mention, but I do know people who are defending Fred Coe and some of these other folks. I get little tidbits and stuff, and digging into these cases is just so fascinating and so fun, and it just blows my mind too that we're not just basically, I don't know, pissing out into the void. Like that there are actually people listening that like it. It's just amazing to me.
I think those tidbits come to you not as an accident. I think those tidbits come to you because you're supposed to get them, because the universe or whatever you believe in or don't believe in knows that you are a good caretaker of those tidbits, and you will make them into something that's important. And that's huge. And I love that you are a voracious podcast listener, and I love that you have, podcasts to shit by or whatever in your bidet. And I listen in my car most of the time, sometimes around the house, but I tend to walk away. And Mark thinks I'm a good multitasker. I don't think that I am, but I've listened to many, and I try not to, I just don't, I try to give them a chance. You never, I don't want people to judge me, over the first, 10 or 20 podcasts. We've got 60 in the can, and I'm still a brand new,
And congrats on your
foundling. It was, if you have to, if you had said to me 5-6 months ago, you'll end the year with 60, I would have said, fuck you, because Mark will tell you almost every week he has to drag me into the podcast room kicking and screaming and crying. And then he does this impression of me. Go ahead, do the impression of me, honey.
She was crying, and she'll really, seriously, she'll be sobbing. And this is going to sound like shit. This is going to sound like awful. I'm going, okay, here we go in 3, 2, 1. And we start the theme music. And as soon as I introduce her, it's like a whole new person. She's a pro.
Or dual personality. I'm not sure. I'm a pro or...
Cute. Aren't they the cutest, Ginger? Aren't they the fucking cutest? I just love them. You guys can adopt us. We can be your corn fed.
I would make you my sister wives in a minute if I weren't jealous and want you off of my husband, but I love you two girls and I would adopt you. I want to be a PWOK until I die, but I would adopt you two girls in a heartbeat. I do not want kids at all, but I would adopt you. So if you have not listened to Big Feelings, you can catch them in any place that you get your podcasts, and they are so worth your time because I'm telling you, these girls are a national treasure, and we are so happy that you were able to take time today out of your busy schedules, and we love you.
Oh, we love you too. Thank you so much.
Okay, go wash your buttholes. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Ginger and Lo, and I hope that you will check out their podcast, Big Feelings, as well as Ghost Town with Jason and Rebecca. And I hope you love them as much as I love you, my Tip-Sters, and more cowbell.
And remember, if you've got a tip for Melissa, give her a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. Or send an email to jttipsters@gmail.com.